I'm going to be accepting people. Okay, fantastic. And Maria will be recording this meeting as usual. Okay,
Yeah, good.
great. So more people will be joining. I am going to just ask you a couple of questions, a little bit of small talk only until people just join. We have Bev as well. So just how was the week? All good, teaching wise? I would like to hear from Georgina and to hear her transformative experience. There is a lot to mention this week. Yeah?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it's just that where we come from, at least me, we're keeping the students in that comfort zone so that they feel natural, whatever. And Ramira said, just go straight to the point. So now when I start my class, I'm just like, do you, have you? And it's nice because my questions are like, have you had breakfast? Have you had lunch? Will you have a long day? Would you like to sleep less? So I'm trying to use those quick questions in the context that were there. And I don't know if I'm doing it correctly, but I sort of like ignore them in the way that all I'm listening for is the target language. And boy, does that make a difference. I'm putting like 3 activities in half-an-hour classes. I'm fitting in 5 activities in 1 hour class, and I never thought that would be possible. And with this student, she was talking much more than before. She was actually making an effort, and she could produce. I mean, she could talk. And this other student's like, oh, Georgina, you made me work so much today. And I was like, okay, so this is effective. I mean, they're really learning, and I accept no Spanish. As we said, I'm trying to be very hard on that and not to give them the answers, but sometimes you need to model. I mean, sometimes you still need to model what the answer you're looking for, but that's it. And I'm very happy about that. So
I
it's
have to
like
tell you,
mastering the PPP
yeah.
method.
I don't know if it's the PPP or what it is because
What it is, I don't know.
people tend to look for analogies. But I'll tell you this, the reaction of one of your students, maybe you don't know it, but I do because the parents got in touch with us and they were saying, she was one of the little ones. Yeah. She was saying, today I had an amazing teacher because she asked me questions that I didn't know the answer of. Yeah. And she, a 7, if you get a 7-year-old to make such a comment, then you got them. Yeah. So congratulations for your class with this
Thank you.
kid.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah. So
Oh, by the way, for the kids, Sonia wrote an amazing blog post about how to teach kids online. And I
mhm.
thank her because I read it. Because, like in live person, I can jump and I can run and I can do a lot of things. But here it was kind of difficult. So she kind of helped me. And now I'm with all my little toys around me and everything. And I move and I jump. So reading that blog post of hers really helped me with kids. So if
Yeah.
anybody's teaching kids, read her post.
Great. We will. Okay, so we will not only we will read it, but we will share it as well. Yeah, guys, remember one thing and the other. So we're a community, and last week I was asking you what makes you different from a private teacher, and you answered. Your answers were quite straightforward, and you said the community, we help each other, and the technology. Yeah, so you have definitely grasped that, which is amazing because in actions like this one, the one that Georgina is suggesting, we have to remember that we are a community, yeah, and it's because of this common effort that we can help each other. It's what we are actually, yeah, and technology is what allows us, what makes us different. But today, I would like us to talk about acceleration, okay,
Okay.
and it's
And
very much in accordance or as a continuation of what we were talking last week. So last week, I was making a call for don't waste time from minute 1 to minute 30. We have 30 minutes that we have to achieve acceleration. We have to make our students take them out of their comfort zone and work on those things that they cannot do alone. For instance, everything that starts with a little bit of small talk, with a little bit of, courtesy questions, so that we break the ice and we are nice. This is not learning. I was saying that this is not everything that a student can answer is not learning. Yeah. So I would like to deepen in this concept of acceleration because those of you who actually have attended this session we saw the difference. We saw the difference not so much in your classes because we cannot monitor all the classes, it's just impossible, but we saw the reactions of the students and it did make a difference. Yeah, so the comments that reached us are very much to say, yeah, brilliant, we like the class, and so on. So I came to the conclusion that sometimes, and from me attending other meetings and webinars, etc., that time has a different dimension when you are delivering a class or a webinar and when you are receiving it. It really feels different. And pace is one thing that you have to work on. You have to train it. Otherwise, you are slow. I want to be very clear on that. And it's a shame that some other people that are slow are not attending because they are slow and they don't know it. So I would like to ask and invite every one of you, if you before could finish one activity or two in class and now you're finishing three, then you were slow. Now you're all right. Now you're okay. Before you were slow. Okay. So I was asking last week, it feels like yesterday, but it was last week. What you are missing, or what is what you need? And Beatrice, I remember her answer. She said, I'm learning Polish and I think that you have to be very well organized, and this organization is something that, think about it, either you, the individual, the receiver of the class, is organized, or you're not getting organization from the provider of the classes, being it a system, being it a teacher, whatever. So you're not receiving that. And I just want to make you aware, you are using an app that does that, provides that organization, okay? So I'm going to quickly share, I have prepared a presentation for you just to illustrate, because I do believe that if we have a visual aid, maybe it will be clearer. And I'm going to share it with you just to go over these concepts, which are important for more experienced teachers and for newer teachers. Yeah, and we're going to talk about acceleration and innovation today. So just a minute, bear with me. Can you guys see my screen? Georgina, can you tell me if you see?
Yeah, it's loading.
It's loading.
Yeah, there it is. Yep, I can see it now.
Does it say I'm Oxinity franchise? Yeah?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So one of the big questions that we have to answer is, and you have to know the answer, is what's the pain, what's the gain? Why are we here in the market? Yeah, because let's face it, we have a unique opportunity in the market, and I know I saw Joaquin is with us today, and then I'm going to ask him because he has another, you know, a different perspective of things from the outside and from someone who has been participating in other platforms and methods as well. So he'll tell us his experience. But before that, yeah, we have to know what our uniqueness is and what's the pain and what's the gain. What pain do we relieve eventually? Okay. So I think that I have summarized, or we can summarize it in the following way. It takes an average of 12 plus years for a person to learn English in a language school or at school. And 4 out of 10 learners think that they're not good at English. How many times have we heard, oh, I'm not good at English? Way too many, okay? And after 10 years and more of studying, learners still think that, okay, maybe I have to still find the right private teacher. Maybe I haven't found them yet, the good one. So I will keep searching and looking for the right person for me. Well, this can be, maybe they're lucky enough to find that great person that helps them once and for all, or maybe there is something wrong in the whole approach. So I believe that we can fix it, that we can provide a solution for it. Now, the big question is, what makes you different from a private teacher? And as we've said many times, it's not how nice you are, it's not how experienced you are. Sometimes even more experienced teachers kind of follow the same patterns that they've been using years and years. Therefore, it's not that. And here is when from last week you were saying it's the community. on one hand, yes, it's what we are a community, we help each other, it's the technology that we use and that empowers us to go further, and the acceleration, which is what we do. So believe it or not, in class, whenever there is an element of acceleration, the class is great. If not, if we forget about it, if all I see as a student, if I'm a student and all I see is a nice teacher and a blank screen, then nothing happens. Then it's a nice chat, a conversation. Now, how much would a student pay for just a nice chat and for a conversation? How much money? How much is it worth, you know? People would pay for something that has value. So for us, a private teacher, I was asking you, what is the difference? A private teacher teaches, but we are measuring and challenging and accelerating. So here is the whole strategy that we can provide, the whole acceleration strategy. It involves the learner, it absolutely involves the teacher and the system. And eventually, the final result has to be translated in 3 years, not 12. 3 only are enough from a student to go from A1 to C1. I believe this is possible. We believe we are making it happen. So, what does it take? It takes a learner to increase their exposure to English. It takes a teacher to keep good pace and to start with quick questions, which is, well, what we do and how we accelerate. And not to answer questions that, not to ask questions that students can already answer, but to challenge them. And it takes a system to provide the whole strategy, the organization, and to translate, well, the limited structures and the limited vocabulary that we need eventually into objectives, into weekly objectives that the students would be achieving or reaching according to their involvement. Yeah, so that's a strategy. That's how we reach it. And regarding the format of the 30-minute class format and the importance of understanding that we have to really achieve acceleration here, the idea is very simple behind, which is we get rid of everything that is not learning. Okay, so I here have a quote. It is said that they asked Michelangelo, a fan of him or someone that admired this piece of work, David. And it is said they asked him also, how did you achieve such a beautiful piece? And he said, well, I chip away everything that is not David, that does not look like David. Which means, if you think about it, well, the same tale is, sometimes I've heard it with an elephant, sometimes I've heard it with a horse, yeah? But I prefer David because, well, David is more handsome. So I think that eventually this summarizes the essence of the class. The essence is we get rid of everything or we chip away everything that is not learning. This is it, yeah? So we can have either a block of marble with all the small talk, with all the translations, with all the waiting that you want, or we can have a masterpiece, which is David, or an elephant if you prefer, yeah? But it's the same. So eventually, what are the activities for? What are our activities for? A traditional answer can be, well, I have to teach them, and I have to teach them until content is fully grasped. This is number one, traditional answer. Or our answer is, they transmit experiences from teacher to teacher. I learn because someone has written an activity for me that I'm using. Therefore, there is a practice there that I didn't think of, or there is a way of asking questions that I didn't think of. So I learn in the first place, the teacher. Second, students, we detect it helps us to understand what students don't know and to challenge them and to provide practice for it. So basically, if we take and remember the principle of I check, I challenge, I accelerate, eventually we're going to have to make it happen, to have a very effective class. So with this aim in mind, or with this end in mind, those of you who have who have done this, what I asked you, and I know that it's several of you. Did you see any difference? Anastasia, how about you? Did you follow this principle? Or are you following this principle? Or Autumn?
Sorry, I got my mic on mute. I'm on the street. So, yeah, basically, I was always doing something like this because it's been discussed before. And in terms of how much can be fit in a class, my experience, 30 minutes class, 3 exercises, sometimes 4. 1 hour class, it really depends on what happens. Tends to be 6 to up to 8.
Activities.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Autumn, how about you?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, I got a comment that you guys can only see the first slide of the presentation. Is that so?
Yeah, I can only see the
Yes.
first slide.
Yes, only the first slide, yes.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Okay, well, can you not see it now?
No, still
No, I
first
can
slide.
only see the
Still
first slide.
froze.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Oxinity.
If you stop sharing and then share again, it like
Says
restarts.
it. There you go.
How
Yeah.
about that?
Yes.
Okay,
There you go.
good.
Now?
There we go. Yep.
Okay, well, I'm just going to show it to you because actually to repeat the same would be, well, just that, repetition, so no value in it, but this is what I meant about the what's the pain, what's the gain, and then our ethos, how different we are from a private teacher, and then the acceleration strategy. I was saying in 3 years, we have to be able, if we put all the elements together, the learner on one hand, you guys and the system, yeah, we should be able to eventually achieve this acceleration if everyone knows what is expected from them. Okay, so the learner to increase exposure to English, the teacher to keep good pace and actually help student with this acceleration, and the system to provide the strategy and the organization, and to structure all these structures and words into weekly objectives, and then we'll have it. And then that was the masterpiece that I was talking about. Okay, so this is the beautiful piece of or work of art that we can have out of our classes. Okay, so we can have the whole the whole marble block, which is the class with all its elements, some of them necessary, some of them not so much, or we can focus on this one. Yeah, and then I was saying that the activities are actually the ones that help us through the practices that they provide to achieve that acceleration and to achieve we have to obviously be the one to challenge students through the activities. Yeah, the activity is that element that allows us to provide, to identify what students don't know and to provide practice for it. Yeah, so that's what that was what I had prepared for you. Okay, and I was asking whether this week you could actually test this and whether you saw how your classes were different. And I was asking that to, well, actually two people want to mention something. Path in the first place.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, what did you say? Because I had a piece of feedback today, for example, from yesterday, from a kid whose mom thought that the kid was lost at some point because the other two, she'd said, the other two students were a bit older, which I don't think it was true because, yeah, you have like 10-year-old, 11, and then 12. So you probably have, if you have a very mature 12-year-old with a very kiddie 10-year-old, then you may have that, yeah, quite a lot. But I just got the feeling, or that comes to me on the reflection that sometimes if you need to push them a bit to that out, to take them out of the zone of control or the zone of comfort, sorry, it's true that you have, there's very thin line between being comfortable and being lost in a language, class. So it really is, I've done, I do this regularly, especially with students that I know, children that I know what they can do. It's if you don't know them, like the open classes model, and that is the way we work at the moment, it's a bit more difficult than that. And you can cross that line and have a kid or a person who's lost, and that is not enjoyable at all. And people complain also about that.
This is very important. So remember, we have spoken about it. It's a very important point that you're making. Learning happens is in between the comfort zone and the zone of the impossible. Of course, if we're pushing too hard, then we're taking them to, moving them to a zone where it's kind of, it's again as frustrated as bored the first one is. You're right. But I wanted to actually, kids, let's talk about kids after a while, because I have something to ask you there. Yeah, something that has to do with levels, just in 5 minutes, okay? Now Charles wants to mention something, I see.
Hello, everyone. Good morning.
Hi.
Thank you, Radmila. Yeah, I actually had a question written down, and I'm really glad that we're talking about what we're talking about. Testimonies or testimonials. Does Oxinity, do we have, I was going to ask about testimonies for parents, for younger children, say, oh, these guys are great. We've seen what's happened with other places. But now that you say this 3-year thing, and you said we've seen it happen, could we get some testimonies from some older students, maybe teenagers, young professionals, middle-aged people who have achieved this 3-year process? That would be a fantastic selling point for us.
Not only that, and I know that we could have got much more testimonials than the ones that we're getting, truth be told, because it hasn't been traditionally our immediate aim. But you're right, we have to get this because we have a lot of success.
Sure.
Yes, a lot of success stories.
Maybe offer a little discount, for people who give testimonies, especially someone who could say, I came to Oxinity 3 years ago. I could not speak English. I was lost. I needed it for work. I think that would be a very strong tool for us. And another for children, maybe for parents, that could show, because we can say that we're different, but if they're recommended, or if they see a testimony by another parent, sorry, my doggy wants to say hello here. Hey, that would be that would be extremely helpful, I believe.
Perfect. On the top of my head, some of the students that have struggled at the beginning and now are kind of, oh my God, it has been so good, and I'm now producing language, etc. Yeah, Maria and I will take care of it.
Perfect.
Also, I wanted to just ask quickly, Joaquin, are you there, Joaquin?
Yes, I'm here.
How are you?
I'm doing
Okay,
fine.
so well, I just think that you can share your experience, because Joaquin has been with Von, yeah. So Von is one of the big ones, the big players in the market. And this will lead to another conversation discussion that I would like us to have about innovation, right? Because we're living in the era of innovation, and we have to see how technology or how education is adapting to that. But first, can you explain your experience with Von regarding? Yeah.
Okay, I can explain my both. There's two perspectives. Like, one is Oxinity and what it is, and what Von is. Look, Von is specialized in hustling the student. Like, what you want to do is, it means like you want to create, not stress, push them out of their comfort zone to take things to a next level. Mm-hmm. And that's vital. I believe that half an hour, I don't know if I have never tested that kind of type of class, but it is going to be interesting. But I believe that if Oxinity has already tried it out and they've seen results, it's going to be very interesting to try it out and see what can happen. But in terms of Von, it's very let's say it's orthodox in terms of how do you expose the class and how do you take the student to the next level. But sometimes we need to be careful because sometimes it can be very repetitive, and students they don't want to be stressed out all day long. I had situations where you take the student to an extreme where he is learning, but at the same time he's not learning, or he's stuck in a subject or a matter. Frustration comes in, and if frustration kicks in, trust me, you need to become a coach.
Mhm.
But I believe now I've studied Oxinity half an hour. I think it's a perfect amount of time, maybe because you didn't push them that hard, and you give them the taste of, okay, you've been out of your comfort zone, and you've been learning. But what I really love about Oxinity is not the half an hour. It's not about killing the hour or the acceleration, as you call it. What I like is that you focus with big data, and that relies on you treat the student something unique. Of course it is, not inside a concept or inside a program or a level like a B1, C1. I don't believe in those kinds of tags. What I do believe is what you're doing is that out of the big data, the way you and all the teachers, all the community works out their work plans towards their students, they become thorough, and that's translated into you understand the student. You figure out ways to teach him, let's say, phrasal verbs, or let's say you're talking about past or like tenses. I mean, like a present continuous, a present perfect, whatever. But the point is that there you create your tools, and those tools, other teachers may use it in a first stage. Maybe you're a new teacher, you've never performed as a teacher, your background is completely different, but thanks to those tools, you realize that you can start on something. No, but that big data, in terms of applying it to the student, what gives you is a new reality where that acceleration is real. But I'm not saying that I don't disagree with what you're saying. I believe that you need to push the student. I believe that you need to hustle him. I believe that you need to make him sweat. But I believe too that we need to rely on each other. That's what you're saying. But I think it's the main pillar. The main pillar is that everybody who works out their classes and lays down their work and they deal with the students, they have the magic that whenever they upload it to the cloud, Oxinity's cloud, we are creating a new way of teaching, and of course that's AI, and that's the future, and that's where we're going to. Because in my case, I'm developing apps, and right now one of the big issues that can we develop our own AI, and we realize how expensive it is, so we have to rely on third parties to have an SDK. But well, this is something different. But what I'm trying to say with this example is that what you're making with Oxinity is that towards all the work that all teachers do and the way you prepare your classes, not only it's an organic big data, is that we are facing a way of teaching that it's going to be very interesting in the next coming months. And especially, I don't know, the feeling that why I'm joining this crew and I'm joining this team and I believe we're going to have a good time is that the real challenge is not only stressing out the student, that of course you have to do it at some point, but it's adapting to him, and acceleration is, for what I understand, maybe I'm completely wrong, and now you can correct me.
No,
I mean-
I like no. It's about right. This is true. There are just three different angles to look at it, and you have to think of the three of them, because I do believe that well, if the big innovation a decade ago were all these apps, and they were using artificial intelligence and big data. This is very important, and what you're saying is that it's still, although despite these apps, it still has very little presence in day-to-day teaching when it comes to helping teachers, so it's either the app or the teacher, but it's never, or it's rarely, very rarely both. So I believe that there are like the three vertices of the same triangle have to be there, so we have to be very, very much aware. And I thank you for focusing on technology and big data and artificial intelligence, because we sometimes believe that forget that is what helps us. Yeah, we think, and this is something that I observe with teachers. Teachers think that they're alone many times. Not you, not this community, not these people that see each other very often. Not you guys, but ask any teacher outside. They will tell you that they have to deal with everything on their own, and they have to rely very much on their individual experience, skills, etc., etc. So there is little support there. While here there is the support of technology, which is super interesting, as you say, because it's the future eventually, and there is the human support. And I wonder, what is your opinion on innovation in education? Your in general, Joaquin's opinion, everyone in general. Where, in your opinion, that innovation happens? Where have you seen it? Do you see it in education in general?
In my case, to finish, I believe that the good thing about this big data that Oxinity has created is that it's made up by all the teachers, and even teachers, when they find mistakes, they correct them, because you're not going to be perfect. That's the beautiful, but it's an organic AI or an organic staff. No, I mean staff, like something that you lean on to improve your work. And I think that the future truly is it's accelerating so fast that we don't know. Like right now, I can be honest. If suddenly somebody invents a quantum computer with 1,000 qubits, the game is over. So we don't know what we're going to face. But the reality that right now, in this precise moment, AI, it's I think it's in a very low level yet, and we still have maybe 10 to 15 years. But even though this information that I'm giving maybe is bullshit, because I don't know what's going on right now in Silicon Valley, so you never know about that. But the point is that right now, in this moment, February, I think we're the 12th, the reality is this: is what you're doing right now with Oxinity, and what all the teachers, so you guys are doing, and what I've been seeing and checking out. We are on the edge right now, and that's what we have to transmit. And when you want to sell yourself, and you want to knock at doors, and you want to bring clients in, besides teach students, rely on the work that you're doing as a community, and I believe that's right now where we are at. But maybe tomorrow I'm wrong, or maybe I'm not seeing something that I'm missing out. But that's
No, I couldn't have expressed it better, actually. Yeah, I thank you for that. Tomorrow, we don't know about tomorrow, but we can create tomorrow as well. So remember that. I mean, if we have a vision of tomorrow that we want to implement today, let's do and create it. Why not? I mean, we have done that for some years now, and we were ahead of time because of that. Yeah. So because of that that attitude as a group, we could create things and anticipate to what other people right now have to still figure out how to do. Yeah, because I sometimes have the feeling that technology alone is running very fast, and technology for education is there, but teachers are kind of stuck sometimes stuck in their ways. Sometimes it's like a mistrust. I want to believe that here we're creating something that is user-friendly, teacher-friendly, and that actually help you guys to be the best version of yourself. I would like to believe that. But in any case, what we want to do tomorrow, we have to decide today. So we're having these meetings on Thursday about the evolution of Oxinity, and so far they have been very, very much focused on fixing bugs, which we have, obviously. But it will come a day when today's bugs will be fixed. I want to invite you to join these Thursday meetings, and to actually, now is the moment to say what we want in the future. Yeah, I'm going to organize it, of course. Now, questions, anyone, or comments, anyone, before we move on? I don't know, Charles, if you have raised your hands from before, or there is something new you would like to say?
No, sorry, that was from before. Excuse me.
Okay. All right. So can we talk a little bit about kids and levels for kids? Because I still hear this, and Pav kind of mentioned it, that she has kids with that have different maturity stages because of the age. I want to discuss this a little bit, see what we can do about it, and also when kids have the same age but different levels. What is your opinion there? What can we do? Who here teaches kids?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this as well. I mean, within the kids kind of groupings, it seems like there's just the kids level. Am I right in that?
Yeah.
Having sort of different grades like we do with the adult students, I think would help a lot with that. Maybe we don't need 5 or 6, but I think that like having a lower level or a lower group for, say, 6-year-olds, because generally the 6-year-olds are quite less mature than the other students. By the time they're already 7 or 8, they can be in groups with, slightly older students already. But like you mentioned as well, the difference in ability can be a big problem, because if you have a very advanced student who can speak very well, and you're also teaching at the same time a student with a lower ability, the more advanced student gets very, very bored, or it's way too difficult for the lower student, and it can be very, very, very difficult to maintain the attention of the group as a whole. And once you kind of lose kids, you've lost them. That's what I've kind of found anyway. So yeah, having the ability to sort of like segment them better might be, I don't know, an advantage. If that makes sense.
It makes sense to me, but I don't know if I agree. It makes sense to me what you're saying, but I would and it's not that I disagree. It's not that. I just wonder whether there is something in between. Yes, segmentation. Yeah, because we have the maturity element. Makes me think that okay, maybe it's not the linguistic capacity, but maturity, which makes the makes it more difficult to have kids of different ages. But there is a situation there is a different context, which is kids are more or less the same age, 6 or 7, say. Yeah, 6 or 7, they are compatible. But then one kid is new and more quiet, and the other kids are more, have been with you longer, and therefore they speak more. So how do you feel about it? What is Sam, in this case, what would you do? What would you advise the kids and the parents, of course?
I mean, in a situation like this, if we're dealing about like, confidence and maturity, it's like anything. It happens with time, and it's okay to sort of do activities and structure the class in a way that you get them speaking, if that's the problem. What I'm thinking about the issue being is the same with any kind of group. When you have a student with a much higher ability than the other students, it's not just a matter of, a couple of classes or a week or a month or something like that for them to build their confidence. If there's a gap, it's very, very, very difficult to grade a class towards both students. And I mean, obviously you can do it and it is possible, but I don't know if it's the most efficient way to teach, if that makes sense. It's like
perfectly. Yeah. I agree with that. Yes, thank you for that. And Bev, you also have some experience with kids. Can you tell us your experience?
Yeah, sure. I've been teaching children online for the past 5 years, but the difference being I only teach one-to-one. Obviously, I see different levels, and in my experience, I've had 5-year-old children who I can have a full conversation with. And I've also taught 12-year-olds who struggle to say ABC. So it varies. But I personally would feel that I'm not sure I agree with very, very high difference of levels of children being together. I think for the child who was not so confident, I think it would affect their confidence. And, if they're in a group with 2 kids who can speak all the time and understand everything, and then one child didn't so much, I would think that would have an adverse effect. I also think that the parents have a big role as well. It depends outside of lessons how the children conduct and if they continue the learning process in the home. So I can tell with my students if if their parents work with them outside of our lessons or if they don't. And I think that's a big, has a big part in it.
Do you think that kids learn from other kids?
Yes, yeah, I would think they do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I've had kids where sometimes if they're regular that I've been teaching for a long time and they have friends round and sometimes friends join in and I've also had twins, which is a bit of a nightmare, but twins at the same time, which and yes, they totally bounce off each other, yes. And kids are very naturally competitive. So if one friend can say something, then that friend wants to be able to say it too. So that I think they're quite competitive with each other. And it's like, how come he can say that and I can't? I want to be able to say that. So I think in that way, yes.
That was what I was thinking, that sometimes it's a matter of really, different personalities. Some are more open, like outgoing, some are more timid, but in any case they learn from each other very much. And that element that you just described, if they can do it, I can. I think that we have to remember that and explain that to the parents as well, sometimes, when it's not so a matter of maturity or so obvious or evident difference in the age specifically. But I think that it's also a matter of children to relax and to learn that they can learn from the teacher and from their peers. That's what I think. I don't know what, Sam, what do you think? Can we have this situation? Can we explain the parents sometimes that, hey, it's a matter of time, the kid will relax and they will start producing the same language?
Yeah, I think so. I think what I'm kind of talking about and what you're saying here might be different things, because like I agree with Bev and I agree with you that like in a group, students do learn from each other, and that's why the group classes, we've discovered it are the best way to teach, because they do learn from each other. They take the hints. If there's a stronger student, you can get them to do examples. You can get them to lead the class, and you can use that.
At least I have seen it in many classes that has happened. Kids that are not so confident at first, but after some weeks, they really they progress and their attitude changes. Therefore, their learning changes as well. At least I have seen that. Yeah.
Absolutely. What I'm kind of more referring about is kind of like, I mean, as well, what Bev said. I've taught 6-year-olds who you can have a conversation with like this. And I've taught 6-year-olds who you're teaching, my name is, and having them in the same group doesn't make a lot of sense, because what the advanced student can give to the lower level student isn't something that the lowest student could use, if that makes sense. If there's too much of a gap, if there's big of a difference between these students, then they can't really learn from each other because they're starting from different points. And then you get to the problem where you're targeting the lowest student and the advanced student is, somewhere else completely.
So we have to differentiate between something that is a matter of time, or the gap is so different that they won't be able to meet, no matter how. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I've got a group of 6-year-olds, for example, that I'm teaching. There's 3 girls, and they're all kind of like varying degrees of kind of like a lower level. Some of them are more shy than others, but over the weeks, they're starting to come together now, and they're starting to speak, and that's a matter of time. But if there was a student in that group who, was already having conversations, it would kind of really throw the dynamic there, I think. And so, we need to make this differentiation between like, linguistic ability and confidence, maybe, like you were saying.
That's great. So to wrap it up for everyone, guys, when you think that there is an unbalanced group that you are teaching, let us know. But first ask yourself, okay, is it just a matter of confidence, or there is another element that we have to take into consideration before we decide, oh, these guys cannot go together? Let us know. Mari Carmen, you want to say something?
Well, actually, you just spotted it. That's what I wanted to say, that it would be a great idea for us, I think, to actually be able to value that in order to regroup kids, differentiate in attitude, with level, because I think it's very, if we had 3 kids, that 3 of them are very timid, the class is not going to be very enriching. So the attitude, I think, is something we should put aside, and we work on it differently. It's always going to be different attitudes with different kids and different groups, etc. So I don't think that should be taken into consideration yet. The level, yes. Why? Because I do have an example of how I'm getting the feeling that this girl is starting to be a bit bored because she's a bit more advanced than the rest. So the attitude, I think it's something that teachers, we have to deal with, whatever comes to the class. Yet the level could be, I think, a good idea to profile it a bit thinner in order to have a more quality class. Yeah.
Then let us know when you
Yeah.
see a clear level issue. Let us know. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay. Any other comment, guys, from you regarding anything, difficulties that you had, or things that you have? Autumn, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say as well with kids, even in addition to the kids cast, as well as with the teenagers. Sometimes in some groups there is a difference of level, not in terms of like maturity, but just a difference of level. Like, as you can see, like one student is more advanced than the other, and you're spending a lot of time trying to help the lower student understand, what the higher level student already understands. So I was just wondering, like, I know that we have different levels for the teens as well, but I was just wondering, like, if there is something else that we could do with that.
What do the rest think? What solution can we give? Path, what would you say? You have experience with teenagers, that's why I'm asking you, but of course everyone else. Oh, I can't hear you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now. Yes, I'm actually thinking about 3 students now that you're talking. And one is true that one of them, for example, is very into the classes, very interested, very motivated. The other 2, I took them about 1 month ago, yes, on a weekly class. And right at the beginning, when I started teaching them, there was the other 2 that seemed like not very interested in doing things, like some other things at the very same time of the class, like maybe playing, I don't know. And then at some point, it was half the way that it was a reaction for them that they didn't understand most of the classes at the very beginning. So when I made the effort, like to call them, to get them involved and everything, there's been a change in this month. And it's true that they still have these different levels, but it's true that the one that has got a higher level, he enjoys having a higher level than the other 2. But it's true that the other 2 are actually engaged on the activities now, and they're not as reluctant as they used to be, on the on participating.
Yeah.
So I'm not very. I don't like kids being competitive. For example, if I see that there is one kid that is too competitive, that is actually correcting the others, which some of them do, and I hate that. I'm sort of like, stop that immediately, and we just like they have to understand that some other students, they need more time, and they actually got the answer better most of the times because they give themselves the time to. So it's a matter just to know each other, to respect that people have different rhythms of learning as well, different, like ways to be in the class. We don't need all to be perfect and super fast and super, we just need to take your time, find your rhythm, and help each other. And that is something that we can do. Yes.
Okay.
And it's not really like having levels, which it's like something that they do in high schools right now. How you put like clever people with clever people and the clumsies with clumsies. And it's not true, you know, because it's not such a thing as a clumsy boy or a clever boy. It's
Okay.
just like different intelligence that they have.
So am I right to conclude that it's not so much about the level, but again, about how we can make these guys interact? Yeah, in what
Exactly.
way?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Steve, how about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm just rifling through a book by Phil Beadle called How to Teach. He's a guy from East London who was given a teaching award for working in a very challenging school in East London. Quite a character. And there's a section on differentiation, and I guess that's what we'll look at by task, by support, by various different methods. So, you know, but this is kind of much different environments where we're working. This is a classroom of 30 kids in challenging inner cities. You know, we've got a class of 3 or 4 online for half an hour, but all those kind of agendas that we're looking at schools, certainly back in the UK 15 years ago, like gifted and talented, it kind of goes against what Paz is saying for some respects, because obviously it's problematic when you get students in peer learning circumstances, as you say, correcting other students if they haven't got the authority to do so. But you could empower them to do so by perhaps using, you know, it's a label and it's problematic, by gifted and talented. Yeah, so if across the community you were able to you know, give a little bit more challenge to those ones at the higher level, if you were to label them, I'm not saying call them gifted and talented, because everyone's gifted and talented in some way, but some Oxinity label. Could we bring in those students in some way to act in some classes as a teaching assistant? You know, so you're effectively, okay, we know you're a little bit higher than these guys. They'll play well with their parents, but in this particular classes, on occasions, you can come in as a teaching assistant, and we could ask them to help deliver the classes. With this idea, the best way of learning anything is to try and teach it. Yeah. So in some way embracing the gifted kids, as I say, as an assistant and not just a learner in some contexts. Yeah. I mean,
That's
it's just,
interesting.
yeah.
I don't know. It's an interesting concept. How do you feel about it?
It almost sounds to me that there's so much here that it's another working party, isn't it? It's another group of Oxinity teachers getting it. Okay, how do we handle differentiation? It's difficult one to, you know, answer in a short meeting. But I haven't got very much experience working with young kids, to be honest. But I kind of know a little bit in theory, I suppose. But certainly that's my experience of working in high schools back in the UK. Yeah. Giving challenge, but also differentiation and trying to embrace peer learning, which is very difficult in a group of 3. So you might have 3 students more or less the same level, but a higher student also assisting in some way, but giving the ground rules and the training so they don't intimidate, as Paz was saying, and they don't become arrogant. You know, they're given a specific task. Yeah. Okay, maybe the teacher's correcting, but they're delivering some of the class. Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. What do you feel about that, Paz?
My point was really that even if you have a higher level, you could actually learn from lower levels too, in a way. I don't know, you know, they don't express themselves, but you just have to learn to be patient, for example, or you have to learn to listen, because he might be right. Maybe it's taking longer for him to do this, or he's doing it on a different way. But that doesn't mean that because you're faster that you do it more right. That was my point. You know, even if they have different levels, maybe if you do say you know more vocabulary, maybe the other boy with lower level it's got something to do, is more interesting than whatever you're saying. Do you know what I mean? Because this is language. It's not just skills. It's not just your skill on language. It's just like what you have to say. And maybe what you have to say is more interesting than you know, the other guy, which is like really, you know, it's communication. So that having that as the key is not how to say is true, but they have to make an effort as well to communicate things that make sense.
Yeah, I agree with you. Okay, yeah, well, yeah, I like it. Yeah, and thank you for that. Okay, so I think that we can have another conversation, maybe continue with that in further talks considerations about the level and class dynamics with these specific groups, which there is a lot to say about. Steve is sharing some resources. Thank you for that. Okay, so we'll take a look. Okay, guys, so before we go, just to wrap it up very quickly, again, I would like to remind you and to ask you all to focus on the pace of your classes and that acceleration, yeah, to question your questions, to question them in terms of, am I producing acceleration with this question, or I'm practicing something that they know, yeah, and to focus on the things that they don't know, ideally, so that these 30 minutes of a class are they have a very good usage of every single minute of a class. This is what I would like to achieve in all levels, and then we'll continue with this conversation on levels, and hopefully next week we can talk about the lowest levels, which is usually the more challenging for teachers. Okay, so again, start with quick questions. Do what Georgina did so that you guys obtain all the positive comments that she did. And right after the hi, hello, my name is Radmila, go straight to the quick questions and keep a good pace. And remember that the time appreciation that you have and the students is different. So it has to be made a little bit more dynamic for the student. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so thank you. I really enjoyed the talk. I hope you did as well. And thank you for all the comments here, to Joaquin, to Paz, to Bev, to Steve, to Sam, to Autumn, to Anastasia, everyone that shared experiences. That was great. Thank you, guys.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Good weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.